Family Matters was a rocky start in the beginning. They kind of had to accept that I was there.
We weren't happy about it. I think along the way, it got to be a little resentful.
Joe Marie and Reggie at that time were very sensitive to putting black men in dresses. And they heaped that on me.
Well, hello there.
It's the role that defined a generation.
Harv, crank up the music. It's time to do the Urkel.
But behind the suspenders and snorting laughs lies a shocking truth. What really happened on the set of Family Matters? Why does Jaleel White keep finding himself at the center of controversy?
Joe Marie and Reggie at that time were very sensitive to putting black men in dresses. And they heaped that on me.
Did he really threaten Jo Marie Payton, the show's matriarch?
You better check that attitude at the door. He didn't have the etiquette that maybe I and some others had. There was one time he actually wanted to physically fight me. I was gonna go in there and whip his behind.
And how did his feud with Will Smith derail his career? From shocking claims of physical aggression to petty feuds that never seem to end. What's the real story? And why does everyone seem to hate Steve Urkel? Let's dive into the chaos, controversy, and what Jo Marie Payton has finally revealed about Jaleel White's scary rise to fame. The set of Family Matters wasn't always as family-friendly as it seemed. Behind the scenes, tensions were brewing. None more shocking than the alleged confrontation between Jo Marie Payton and Jaleel White. Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet Winslow, was the heart of the Winslow family on screen, but off-camera, the dynamics were very different. By the time Jaleel White's Steve Urkel skyrocketed in popularity, tensions between the cast and crew had started to show. According to Jo Marie Payton, the disagreement occurred during an episode where Jaleel's character, Steve Urkel, had to portray a girl. Payton disagreed with the creative direction and stood her ground, leading to an explosive confrontation. Payton described the scene as deeply uncomfortable, noting that tensions escalated to the point where Jaleel's anger alarmed those on set. Jaleel White's rapid rise to fame as Steve Urkel wasn't easy, and it didn't come without consequences. Introduced as a one-off character, Urkel's overwhelming popularity shifted the entire focus of the show, sidelining the Winslow family's original dynamic. This shift caused friction, especially with Jo Marie Payton, who was brought onto Family Matters to continue her role from Perfect Strangers. What started as a show about the Winslow family quickly became the Steve Urkel Show, and some cast members were not happy.
Joe Marie and Reggie at that time were very sensitive to putting black men in dresses. And they heaped that on me.
I didn't see how I was stepping on anybody's toes. I was taking anybody's shine, White said in the uncensored special. He later added, "And I don't need to rehash that with the adults over and over again. They know what it is." While disagreements on set aren't unusual, the alleged near altercation between Payton and White shocked many. According to Payton, White's reaction to the disagreement went beyond frustration. It became physical. In 2022, Payton revealed that White wanted to physically fight her after she opposed a scene in which he portrayed Urkel's gangster cousin, OGD, which stood for Original Gangsta Dog.
You better check that attitude at the door. He didn't have the etiquette that maybe I and some others had. There was one time he actually wanted to physically fight me. I was gonna go in there and whip his behind.
She later claimed that crew members had to intervene to calm the situation. This revelation raised questions about White's behavior and whether his status as the breakout star shielded him from accountability. Some fans have argued that Jaleel was just a teenager dealing with immense pressure, but others believe that doesn't excuse his actions. Payton herself has alluded to this, saying, "I've only ever had love for Jaleel. He was young, and we've all grown since then." Years later, Jaleel White addressed some of the claims in his memoir, Growing Up Urkel. But instead of directly tackling the allegations, he seemed to deflect blame back onto Payton with a subtle dig. In the book, White didn't address the feud head-on, but wrote about his co-stars, hinting he was difficult in press interviews. "Am I difficult to work with?" I wondered for the first time. "They've said publicly that I was spoiled. But was I really?" he wrote. "I think we were all affected by certain privileges and autonomies, so I tried to refrain from revisionist history or being the pot to call the kettle black." White claimed that Payton had a habit of being late to table readings, stories, and even recounted one incident where she allegedly told the cast she had to drive back home because her rearview mirror fell off her car, so she brought her other Mercedes. Whenever I hear in interviews, 30 years after the fact, the different ways in which I might have been a difficult co-star, it's safe to say I never held up any table readings because I had to go back home and get my other Mercedes, White quipped in his memoir. Fans were quick to call out White's remarks, accusing him of being petty and refusing to take accountability. Social media lit up with debates, with one user commenting, "What a petty B," and the fact that he did not address Jo Marie's accusations in his book suggested to me that he indeed did what he was accused of doing, which was trying to fight her because he was feeling his gumball-eyed self. Now he wants to bring up her supposedly being late for table readings? He just doesn't want to take accountability for his shitty attitude and deflecting from it by snarking at Jo Marie with his sassy self. Talking about the kids like me and the adults didn't. Classic narcissism. Not everyone who dislikes you is a hater or bitter or jealous. Maybe they just don't like you because your actions and attitude were a reflection of an asshole they did not want to deal with. Jo Marie Payton's departure from Family Matters during its final season added fuel to the fire. While Payton has cited burnout and creative differences as her reasons for leaving, many believe the alleged altercation with White played a significant role. Her replacement, Judy Ann Elder, took over the role of Harriet Winslow, but fans immediately noticed the awkward transition. Payton has since clarified that her decision to leave wasn't solely about Jaleel, but the strain of the situation was undeniable. In any case, it wasn't just Jo Marie whom he was feuding with. From misunderstandings with Kelly Williams to a contentious history with Jamie Foxworth, White's off-screen feuds reveal a far less wholesome reality. Kelly Williams, who played Laura Winslow, was central to Steve Urkel's storyline. On screen, Laura was the object of Steve's undying affection, and eventually his wife. Off screen, White and Williams initially shared a bond, but it deteriorated during the 5th season due to a misunderstanding. We stopped speaking altogether. A misunderstanding caused permanent discord between us. White revealed in his memoir, Growing Up Urkel. He explained that despite their professional dynamic, the tension stemmed from personal feelings. Even the time that we had on the set and we were not getting along so great, I was doing two things in describing that. I was showing some adolescent immaturity and some reality about getting along with your co-stars. The misunderstanding grew so significant that White and Williams actively avoided making eye contact during scenes. Despite this, they managed to reconcile during a scene break. Reflecting on the experience, White said, "There was a part of me that wanted to give you a peek behind the curtain of television production nuances, the schedules, the demands, the things that feel unfair, and the things that feel fair." He admitted that the fallout had a lasting impact on his approach to work relationships. "I vowed never again to catch feelings for an actress I was working with." White also acknowledged how such tensions are not uncommon in Hollywood, offering a glimpse into the pressures of the industry. "We're not the only actors who've done that. Some pretty famous shows have had actors who have looked to the side of each other's head and didn't even look at each other. And you can't tell at home." This insight served as both a revelation of his own experiences and a defense against potential criticism. While White's fallout with Williams was eventually mended, his relationship with Jamie Foxworth, who played Judy Winslow, remained fraught with tension. Foxworth's character was written off after 4 seasons, and White's memoir sheds light on the underlying issues. According to White, Foxworth's mother and other parents on the set resented the attention his character received, and he alleged, "Her mother felt I was taking lines of dialogue away from her daughter, which I heavily disagreed with." He also claimed there were attempts to exclude him from communal activities with the original child cast members, such as their shared classroom sessions. White didn't mince words when critiquing Foxworth's on-screen performance. "If Jamie were as funny in the role of Judy Winslow as she was in our studio classroom, she would have never left the show." He elaborated that Judy Winslow's lack of storylines was a reflection of her struggles in the role. The Judy Winslow character appeared in 95 episodes out of a total 215. In 4 seasons on the show, until 1993, Judy Winslow was never given a single storyline. Education also played a role in Foxworth's departure. White wrote, "Her poor grades eventually led to her being fired from the show because the studio teacher wouldn't risk his license if she failed every subject. Her mother did not prioritize her education." While these claims remain White's perspective, they underscore the bitterness that lingered long after Foxworth left the show. Years later, White and Foxworth crossed paths at his 30th birthday party, but the encounter was far from a reconciliation. "Her presence at my party that night felt like a photo op I managed to dodge, and I wanted no part." Despite this, White expressed a desire for closure. If Jaime ever wanted to share her story with me or exchange certain apologies, I'd be down to listen sincerely, but not as a reunion on anyone's podcast for a fast buck or viral moment. But the drama doesn't stop there. Jaleel's falling out with Will Smith revealed even more about his struggle to stay relevant in Hollywood. In his memoir, Growing Up Urkel, the Family Matters star detailed a time he pitched a show to Will Smith in the late 90s. While it looked like it was going to be greenlit, Jaleel White's agent and others around him told him the series wouldn't move forward because of the decision makers, such as Will Smith's head of TV, who Smith fired at the time. Jaleel White wrote in his memoir, according to Us Weekly, "I should have called Will directly, and the truth was, I wanted to work with Will badly." He continued, "Will was becoming such a big star so fast that I didn't have the nerve to call his phone myself months later and ask, 'Hey man, why'd you fire your head of TV?' My agent said there was no deal to be made. They're offering me this show at UPN, and I know in my heart this premise is weaker than ours." Jaleel said instead of reaching out to Will, he signed on for another show, which he considered the safer option, called Grown Ups. The show aired for one season in 1999. He wrote, "My decision to go with Grown Ups instead of exploring a show with Will Smith, sticking to my guns and being patient with the process basically ended my and Will's relationship. There were no more invites to his house or his movie sets, no more calls to say, 'What's up?'" He reflected on the fallout and told the magazine, "When I got the opportunity to nearly work with him, I now go back and look at the number of people that conspired to make sure that we did not speak directly any further. It sucks for me. But as long as I got it out and I got to express it, that's once again in one of those areas where the book just becomes therapeutic." Despite his controversies, there's no denying the impact of Steve Urkel. Jaleel's dedication to the role, complete with the high-pitched voice and slapstick comedy, turned him into a household name. But it came at a cost. After playing Steve for 9 seasons, White was physically exhausted and would often develop bruises from the continuous physical comedy. White found it physically painful to maintain Steve's high-pitched voice, so network executives made some chances, including him no longer wearing suspenders that were previously synonymous with his character. "If I worked out, I would have cut off at least 2 to 3 years off the show. Being tall and wiry was one thing. Being almost 6 feet tall and beefed up was another," he recalled. "When you think of it financially, because the real money didn't come in until the final seasons of the show, if I decided to let myself fill in, I would have cost myself something like $6 or $7 million in salary. But was the pain and exhaustion worth it?" Fans and critics alike continue to debate the legacy of the actor who brought Urkel to life. In any case, Jaleel continues to be a controversial figure in Hollywood, even today. Jaleel White recently sparked backlash online with his controversial comments about college education, reigniting perceptions of entitlement and tone deafness. In a statement that left many unimpressed, White remarked,
Degree checked in my life, Melissa.
Well, neither have I.
Ever, okay? We're running into a period, and pandemic made it really, really apparent. College was supposed to lead you to a better career. And for a lot of people in our country, it's just leading them to a lot of debt.
He then added that he wished he had dropped out of UCLA, claiming college leads people into debt. While he may have thought the comment would resonate, the response from fans and critics alike was overwhelmingly negative. One commenter expressed frustration, saying, "Sigh, I may have student loan debt, but I wouldn't have a career without college. Someone like this doesn't need to speak on college education. It was not necessary for his career." For many, the privilege of having a platform without requiring higher education made White's comments seem dismissive and out of touch. Others highlighted how college often serves as a pathway out of minimum wage jobs and poverty. Another critic wrote, "Many of us get degrees to get out of minimum wage, and I wish people against college would acknowledge this part. We don't go to college just because $10 an hour was not fun times and is even worse in this economy." While White may not need a degree as an actor, his broader dismissal of its value didn't sit well with professionals in other industries. "LOL, this is crazy to me because in my industry, not having a degree basically puts a cap on your career pretty quickly," one commenter noted. They added, "If you want to be an actor or an athlete, sure, no degree is needed. I can't recall exactly what his breadwinner wife does. If I am correct, it is something business related, and I am sure he is appreciative of the lifestyle she is providing for them both with her degrees. Same goes for his parents. He had a good life, and his parents never needed to touch his money because his father was a physician, which also requires multiple degrees." Others questioned his finances, saying, "He's out of touch. The majority of Americans need a degree to escape poverty. Not everyone is lucky enough to land a huge TV role as a child and have millions in the bank by 18. Why would anyone degree check him? Most people probably don't expect him to have one. Has he done anything successful outside of Urkel? For many, Jaleel's comments only reinforce the idea that he speaks from a place of privilege, blind to the realities of most people struggling to make a living in today's economy. Anyway, despite Jaleel White's immense success as Steve Urkel on Family Matters, his off-screen life has been fraught with controversy and troubling allegations, painting a stark contrast to his nerdy, lovable on-screen persona. In 2012, Bridget Hardy, White's former girlfriend and the mother of his daughter, publicly accused him of domestic violence, alleging that their relationship ended in chaos 2 years earlier. Hardy claimed that during an argument over suspected infidelity, White became physically aggressive, pushing her into a bathroom toilet so forcefully that it broke, causing water damage to their home. While White denied the allegations and was never charged, Hardy described a pattern of verbal and emotional abuse, alleging he demeaned her by calling her names and belittling her financial situation. Hardy also claimed White attempted to pay her to leave their daughter with him, offering $200,000 for her to start her own family. According to Hardy, when she refused, White retaliated by locking her out of their shared home and placing her belongings in storage. For her, these actions represented a calculated attempt to gain control over their custody situation. White addressed these accusations during his time on Dancing with the Stars in 2012, dismissing them as a resurfacing of old disputes tied to their child custody battle. He framed the claims as an attempt to undermine his happiness, stating, "It was an attack on my joy." While he admitted to typical relationship arguments, he denied any verbal or physical abuse, emphasizing that the matter had already been resolved years prior. White's reputation suffered further damage during his Dancing with the Stars stint due to an explosive on-set confrontation with his professional partner Kim Johnson. During rehearsals, White reportedly stepped on Johnson's foot, prompting her to exclaim in pain. Witnesses alleged that White reacted by berating Johnson, calling her an idiot, and accusing her of overreacting. The altercation escalated when other contestants and producers attempted to intervene. White reportedly lashed out at everyone involved, even targeting professional dancer Mark Ballas with a sarcastic comparison to that annoying sitcom neighbor. This incident culminated with producers sending White home for the day, further cementing his reputation as difficult to work with. In any case, with everything that happened in the set of Family Matters, Jo Marie Payton still chose to move on. In a later interview, she clarified her stance on Jaleel White, saying she's forgiven him for everything. "I don't like to rehash things. Things happen and we move on," Payton explained, sharing that she expressed the same sentiment during an appearance at 90s Con that year.
If you were here and I could hug you, I would. Because I don't hold anything, and I don't want you to hold anything either. I still love you. I still see you as that little boy that you were.
But does that erase the hurt from their tumultuous past? Or is it just another chapter in Jaleel White's polarizing career? Jaleel White may have made us laugh, but his rise to fame is no laughing matter. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.